the Reagan-Scott homestead. Today we're gonna learn about being a hoe. Can't help it, love the hoe jokes. So when I was a kid, my parents would give me a hoe that was flathead hoe, and tell me to go work on the weeds in the garden. And I had no idea what I was doing and would just pull weeds up with it. But since then, I've been trying to actually learn the proper horticultural technique. So we have today a stirrup hoe, or also called a push-pull hoe, which is used for small weeds right under the surface, just to cut those out. And then we have a grub hoe, or sometimes a triangular hoe, which also there's another hoe that looks like that that's called. Anywho, this is like a traditional hoe. And I'm gonna work on our flower beds that we established last year, right behind me. And get the weeds out. We just established them last year, so there's a lot of disturbed earth, so a lot of weeds grew up. And I got lazy, so now we've got a lot of cleanup before we put out mulch this year. I don't like digging in the soil. The more you disturb it, the more weeds you get, but it's out of control. So let's take a little tour of what we're gonna clean up, and then I'll show you how to use both types of hose and what the appropriate use is. So let's go. All right, so we established this flower bed last year on the walk to the garden to bring in pollinators and to honestly have really pretty flowers along this walkway. Some of them have turned out beautiful. I was so excited to find this like traditional snowball hydrangea. My great grandmother, Granny Blaylock, grew one of these in Western North Carolina, and I was stoked to get one of these, and it's come back beautifully. And then we have some non-natives that aren't, or we try very hard to find non-natives that are not invasive, but we like color, and we like the fact that we can get some unusual things, and we try and be good stewards of the earth by not getting things that will go everywhere. So you'll see some non-natives like this really pretty Japanese maple, and some of these elderberries that are non-fruiting, but then we did put in some items that are fruiting. So this is a bush cherry. You can see we've got cherries growing here, and we have got another bush cherry up there. And then the highly controversial butterfly bushes that got killed in the cold snap. So they'll be trimmed up today. But mixed in here, we've got some native weeds, as I like to think of them. I love dogtooth violets, but I have literally thousands of them. And then grass, because this was originally lawn, did come back up. We did a lot of digging, but it was a lot, and we didn't put down cardboard, and like I said, it didn't keep it up. And as you can see here, we have the horrendous and awful monkey grass, more violets. It's just a mess in here. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up before we put down a thick layer of mulch again. And I'll show you which hoe I'm gonna use for which activity. Okay, so we're gonna start with the stirrup hoe. It works to cut slightly underneath the soil and sever the top of the weed from the roots. So this does not work well for anything that will like grow vegetatively again. So you know, like creepers where they put down roots every time something green touches it. Don't use it for that, because you're just gonna chop up the weeds and make more of them. I think it works way better in my garden beds. Adam got me this for Christmas, so this is the first time I've ever had one, because the soil's loose and you can just go right under the surface. But I'm going to show you guys how it works, and then like I said, you should definitely read up on the type of weeds you should use this with. Also, you can't use it with very big weeds. Well, I mean, you can, but it's just a lot more work. So like I said, it's called a stirrup hoe because it looks like a stirrup, but it's also called a push-pull hoe because that's how this works. So I'll just show you. You can push it under the weed like that and pull it. That's how I do it, and then voila, your weed is gone. So like I said, it works well if you don't have like big roots, and there you go, you're done. 2 weeds, done. That's really all there is to it. It doesn't work great when you have thick mulch, but like I said, last year we didn't really get enough mulch down, which is why we have so many weeds. Some people leave the weeds. I don't, because sometimes it pulls up the roots. Like here, it doesn't chop them, depending on how big the clump is. Let me bring that in so you can see. So this would just plant itself again. So I go back through with a rake if it's not mulchy, or just my hands, and throw these in a bucket and feed these to the chickens or put them in the compost pile. But yep, that's how you use a stirrup hoe or a push-pull hoe. You just literally push and pull it. And again, if you have soft dirt, it goes more underneath the soil and does a better job. It's great for getting like little weeds on the edge of your garden beds. But there you have it. That's how you use the Stirrup promised. We're also gonna look at when to use one of these hoes. I have a lot of weeding tools, but these are the best for getting clumps of things out, like these grasses that aren't supposed to be in my flowers, and very precisely. So you just chuck it in there and pull up, and voila, you're done. And that's really the difference. This is great for clumping things, very precise weeding because of this point here, and you can get really precise clumps of things out. The push-pull Stirrup hoe is going to be not able to get all these deep clumps of roots out. It'll get stuck on them. So that's when you use this nice pointed hoe here. And you can be very precise and not, say, kill your bush cherries right behind there. So know when to hoe. Sometimes it's a good hoe world. Of the finished product. As you can see, the hoe got up all the weeds, and then we put out new mulch to help keep them at bay. Yeah, so now I will plant tons of annual flowers and probably stock up on some flowering herbs from the herb festival this year and get this super pollinator friendly.